There comes a moment in every person's life when the unseen begins to whisper, when the invisible starts to make itself known. This moment is sacred because it reveals a truth most people never discover. Your reality has already shifted long before your eyes recognize it. Everything is coming together for you, not in the future, not someday, now. But to see it, you must look where others never look, within the subtle signs of your own consciousness. You see, creation does not begin with action. It begins with acceptance. The acceptance of a state, the acceptance of a new identity, the acceptance of a reality that may look impossible at first glance. The moment you assume the feeling of your desire fulfilled, creation is finished. The world only rearranges itself to reflect what you already accepted as true, and the rearrangement has already begun. Maybe you've noticed it, the quiet shift in your emotions, the sudden sense of clarity, the strange feeling that life has tilted in your favor. These are not coincidences. These are proof. Perhaps someone reached out unexpectedly. Perhaps you encountered a message that felt like it was written only for you. Perhaps things that once resisted you now move smoothly, effortlessly. Perhaps you feel lighter without knowing why. This is not luck. This is not random. This is the world bending to the state you finally claimed. Everything is coming together for you, not because you fought for it, but because you aligned with it. When you changed your inner world, your outer world had no choice but to follow. Look at the little signs. The tone of your days is changing. A sense of expectancy is rising within you. You walk differently, breathe differently, speak differently, because you are no longer the person who hoped. You are the person who knows. You've entered the reality where what you want is already yours, and the world is catching up to the truth you accepted. Every coincidence, every synchronicity, every shift in mood, these are confirmations saying, keep going. You've done it. The result is on its way into visibility. The universe does not speak in loud announcements. It speaks in gentle alignments. It speaks in signs. It speaks in timing. It speaks in the subtle reordering of everything around you. So notice the proof. Notice how the world reacts differently to you. Notice the calm replacing your old worries. Notice the opportunities forming without effort. Notice how what once felt distant now feels familiar, as if you lived it before. That feeling is not imagination. That feeling is remembrance. You are remembering the future you already created. Everything is coming together. Everything is aligning. Everything you ask for is already stepping into form. Remain in the state. Stay faithful to what you have accepted as true. Persist in the knowing, not the hoping. And watch how rapidly your world transforms. Because the moment you look closely, you'll see it. The proof is everywhere, and it's all pointing to one truth. Everything is coming together for you now. Your inner state shapes the outer world. Everything begins as an unseen seed. Long before anything appears in your physical reality, it first exists in the quiet chambers of your imagination. Every outcome, every relationship, every opportunity you experience begins as a subtle shift within you, a movement of awareness, a decision to believe something new. People often assume that change starts with action, with effort, with struggle. But the truth is far more powerful. The outer world is only a reflection of your inner assumptions. Nothing happens on the surface that wasn't already accepted in the unseen depths of consciousness. Think of a seed planted in the soil. Before it breaks through the ground, before anyone can observe its growth, countless processes are already underway beneath the surface. The seed is expanding, strengthening, preparing, aligning itself with the reality of becoming a tree. In the same way, when you adopt a new belief, a new vision, a new sense of self, the roots of your manifestation begin to grow long before the world can notice. What you hold within you determines what unfolds around you. If you cultivate conviction, peace, and certainty, your outer world must mirror those states. If you nurture doubt, fear, or limitation, the world reflects those too. The soil does not decide what grows. The gardener does. Your mind is that gardener. Every desire starts as an invisible state you step into. When you imagine yourself as someone who already possesses the life you seek, the success, the love, the abundance, the freedom, you are planting a seed in the garden of consciousness. At first, it may seem as though nothing is happening. The world might look unchanged, circumstances might appear the same, and people may behave as they always have. But just like the seed beneath the soil, the shift has already begun. The unseen work is the most powerful work. Life starts reorganizing itself in ways you cannot yet perceive. Your inner conversations become the blueprint for outer events, the thoughts you consistently entertain, the emotions you allow yourself to feel, and the identity you silently embody, all combine to form the reality you eventually walk into. You don't get what you want, you get who you are on the inside. When you change your inner state, you change the trajectory of your life. You can walk the same streets, talk to the same people, perform the same actions, and yet experience entirely different outcomes, simply because of the state you carry within you. This is why some people seem lucky, why opportunities flow to them effortlessly, why life bends to their favor. It is not luck, it is alignment. They have planted seeds of confidence, success, and expectancy, and the world reflects those seeds back as visible results. When you understand that every manifestation begins as an unseen form, you stop chasing outcomes and begin cultivating inner states. You learn to trust the invisible process. You learn to honor the seed before it becomes the tree. And when you do, life will unfold in ways that affirm the truth. Your inner world is the master key to everything you will ever experience. Evidence appears the moment you assume the feeling of fulfillment, not after. This is one of the most misunderstood truths about manifestation. Most people believe that they will feel certain, confident, or relieved only once the physical result shows up. They wait for something in the outer world to convince them that the desire is on its way. But this mindset reverses the true order of creation. The outer world is not the cause, it is the effect. The moment you assume the inner feeling of "it is done," evidence begins to appear, not because the world suddenly changes, but because your perception shifts and your reality begins reorganizing itself to match your new inner state. When you enter the state of fulfillment, when you feel the wish already achieved, you ignite a chain reaction in consciousness. This feeling is not imaginary or pretend. It is the inner acceptance of a new truth. And the moment you accept that truth within, the world starts mirroring it without. People often misunderstand this stage because the evidence may be subtle at first. You may notice a shift in your mood, a sudden sense of clarity, or a wave of peace replacing old doubt. These emotional shifts are evidence. Your subconscious mind only relaxes when it receives a new dominant instruction, and the feeling of fulfillment is exactly that instruction. For what in focus of time proper is not, then come the synchronicities, the little signs that life is moving in your favor. Someone may mention something related to your desire, new opportunities may appear unexpectedly, paths that were previously blocked start gently opening. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations that your inner shift has already impacted your outer world. But the key is this: these signs didn't appear because something changed out there. They appeared because you changed in here. This is why people who are confident in their desire often experience quick results. They are not waiting for evidence. Their conviction itself becomes the evidence. Once they decide internally, the world responds immediately. For others, the evidence seems delayed only because they keep looking outward for confirmation while carrying doubts inward. The moment they switch, the moment they allow themselves to feel the end is done, the delay collapses. Assuming fulfillment is not delusion, it is alignment with the truth that everything begins in consciousness. It is stepping into the version of yourself who already has what you desire. Once you inhabit that version, emotionally, mentally, and energetically, the world must reflect it. Your reactions change, your choices change, your energy changes. People respond differently to you because you show up differently to them. This too is evidence. Even before the physical manifestation arrives, the signs begin lining up because you are now aligned with your chosen outcome. Your external world starts to shift in ways that confirm your new inner identity. Life bends itself around the state you occupy. So the real question is never, when will I see evidence? The real question is, have I assumed the feeling of fulfillment? Because the moment you do, the evidence begins instantly, quietly, naturally, as the first ripple of a new reality unfolding itself into form. Small shifts, synchronicities, and intuitive nudges are the first signs of manifestation. They are the gentle whispers from the unseen world, letting you know that your inner work is already reshaping your outer reality. These subtle indicators often arrive long before the full physical result appears. And because they are quiet and easily overlooked, many people disregard them. But the truth is that manifestations rarely burst into existence all at once. They first show up as soft ripples, tiny movements in the fabric of your experience, confirming that something has changed within you. Once the truth came closer to you, the journey to the himself, a small shift might look like waking up with a lighter feeling in your chest, a sense that something good is coming, even if you can't explain why. It may be a sudden drop in anxiety, a new level of clarity, or a feeling of relief that appears without any external reason. This is not random. This happens because your inner state has reorganized itself. Your subconscious mind has accepted a new belief, and you can feel the emotional environment changing inside you. Before the world changes, you change. And that shift is the first proof that manifestation is already in motion. Then there are the synchronicities, those meaningful coincidences that make you pause and wonder. You might overhear a conversation that directly relates to your desire. You might see repeating numbers, symbols, or phrases that match what you have been imagining. You might encounter people, messages, or opportunities that align perfectly with your intention. These events are not accidents. They are reflections of your new inner state expressing itself in the outer world. Synchronicities unfold when your consciousness is aligned with a specific outcome, and your reality begins arranging itself around that alignment. Intuitive nudges are another powerful indicator. These may come as spontaneous thoughts, sudden ideas, or inner urges to take certain actions. They may not always make logical sense, but they feel right. This intuitive pull is your deeper self guiding you toward the experiences that match your assumption. When you've stepped into the feeling of your desire fulfilled, you naturally start receiving guidance that leads you closer to its physical expression. This guidance does not come from fear or desperation. It comes from calm, inner knowing. All these subtle signs, the shifts, synchronicities, and nudges, are the earliest stages of manifestation taking shape. They show that your internal reality has already changed and your external reality is beginning to catch up. Many people dismiss these signs because they expect something dramatic. They crave immediate physical confirmation. But manifestation is a process that begins invisibly. Just as a seed begins to sprout underground before anyone can see it, your desire begins taking form in the unseen layers of consciousness before it becomes visible. When you learn to recognize these gentle signals, you develop faith in the process. You stop doubting. You stop waiting anxiously. You begin to trust that the universe is already working in your favor, and with that trust, the manifestation accelerates. What starts as a subtle nudge, a small coincidence, or a quiet shift soon expands into momentum. Eventually, the outer world reveals what your inner world accepted long ago. Your imagination is the true origin of every breakthrough you're experiencing. Long before anything changes around you, long before your circumstances shift, long before a new opportunity appears, it first must exist in the quiet, powerful realm of your inner world. Imagination is not a child's game or a fleeting daydream. It is the creative power that shapes every part of your life. Everything you now enjoy, everything you have achieved, everything you have overcome, all of it began as an image, a vision, a feeling, a possibility you first entertained within yourself. Most people underestimate imagination because it does not produce instant physical proof. Yet the invisible always precedes the visible. Every invention, every business, every work of art, every healing, every transformation, and every success story began in someone's mind long before it appeared in the world. What you imagine consistently with feeling and acceptance sets in motion the conditions that eventually bring it into reality. Imagination is not merely a reflection of life. It is the blueprint that life follows. When you allow yourself to imagine freely, vividly, and boldly, you create a future for yourself that is not limited by your past. You step outside the constraints of your current conditions and enter the realm of possibility. In imagination, you can embody the version of yourself that already has what you desire. You can live the scene, feel the emotions, and claim the identity long before it becomes physical. And the incredible truth is that once your imagination accepts this new state as real, your outer world must reorganize itself to match it. Breakthroughs happen when you stop looking at life as it is and begin to see it as it could be. When you dare to imagine something greater, you are activating the creative center of your being. Suddenly, new ideas emerge. Solutions you never saw before become obvious. Paths you once thought were blocked begin to open. People show up. Opportunities find you. Your intuition sharpens. Your energy shifts. All these changes begin with a single courageous act. Imagining a new version of yourself. You may believe that breakthroughs come from effort, struggle, or external change, but they come from inner permission. When you imagine yourself beyond your limitations, beyond your fears, beyond your past failures, you give life a new instruction. You rewrite your identity. You open the door for an entirely new reality. Your imagination plants the seed, your life simply mirrors it. Every meaningful shift you've ever experienced started because you first saw, felt, or believed something different internally. Maybe you imagined healing when you were sick. Maybe you imagined love when you were heartbroken. Maybe you imagined success when you had no evidence for it. Maybe you imagined freedom when you felt trapped. And slowly, quietly, faithfully, the world began to rearrange itself around that inner picture. That is the power of imagination. It is the womb of all creation. It is the silent architect behind every miracle, every advancement, every transformation you will ever know. When you honor your imagination, you are honoring the greatest creative force you possess, the force that makes every breakthrough possible. What you call coincidences are confirmations that the unseen is becoming seen. Most people brush off these meaningful moments as random accidents, but anyone who understands the deeper laws of consciousness knows that coincidence is simply the language of alignment. When your inner world shifts, when you adopt a new belief, a new assumption, a new sense of identity, your outer world begins to subtly rearrange itself in response. And this rearrangement often first appears as perfectly timed events, strange alignments, repeated messages, or encounters that feel too precise to be accidental. A coincidence is not just something unexpected. It is something meaningful. It carries a sense of recognition, as if the world is echoing your inner thoughts back to you. These echoes are confirmations that your imagination, your assumptions, and your emotional state are already influencing your external reality. Long before the full manifestation appears, the universe sends signs to let you know the process is underway. These signs are not meant to convince you. They are reflections of the conviction you already hold within. When you shift into the feeling of the wish fulfilled, your perception changes. You notice things you never noticed before. You become sensitive to patterns and symbolism that match your desire. You draw experiences to yourself that align with your new state of being. This is because your consciousness acts like a magnet, pulling into your awareness anything that resonates with the reality you have claimed. Coincidences arise from this resonance. They are not random. They are vibrational matches. If you have been imagining a new job, you may suddenly hear about opportunities through unexpected channels or meet someone who works in the exact industry you've been visualizing. If you've been imagining love, you may notice couples everywhere, songs about connection, or receive compliments that mirror the feeling of being cherished. If you've been imagining financial abundance, you might encounter conversations, articles, or people that speak directly to prosperity. These are not coincidences. They are evidence of alignment. What's truly remarkable is that these confirmations often appear just when doubt might try to creep in. It is as if the universe responds instantly to your wavering, offering reassurance through synchronicity. This is not because the universe is outside you, but because your subconscious mind is orchestrating your experience from within. It presents you with symbols and events that match the state you occupy. If you persist, these small coincidences grow into undeniable shifts, opening doors, creating opportunities, and eventually unfolding into the physical manifestation you initially imagined. The more you acknowledge these confirmations, the more they multiply. Awareness intensifies them. Gratitude amplifies them. Trust accelerates them. You begin to realize that you are not waiting for manifestation. You are already walking through its early stages. The unseen is always becoming seen, one sign at a time. Coincidence is simply the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is the early evidence that your inner world is reshaping your outer world. Once you understand this, you stop dismissing coincidences and start celebrating them, because they are the proof that what you once imagined is now stepping into reality. Everything is aligning for you the moment you persist in your chosen reality. The instant you decide who you are, what you claim as yours, and what reality you choose to occupy, life begins to rearrange itself to match that decision. Many people believe alignment is something that happens after evidence appears, after circumstances shift, or after the physical world validates their desire. But alignment begins the moment you persist, not the moment you see results. Persistence is not effort, it is not forcing, it is not trying to convince yourself. Persistence means returning again and again to the inner state of your fulfilled desire. It means choosing repeatedly to identify with the version of yourself who already has what you want. Every time you return to that inner identity, you reinforce the reality you have chosen, and the more you reinforce it, the more the world must reflect it. When you persist, you are planting your flag in the invisible realm and declaring, "This is who I am now." And from that moment, the universe, or more accurately, your subconscious mind, begins to align circumstances, conversations, opportunities, and timing to bring your chosen reality into form. It may not always look dramatic at first. In fact, it often begins with the smallest internal changes: a shift in emotion, a growing sense of confidence, a new pattern of thought, or the quiet disappearance of an old fear. And these internal shifts are not insignificant. They are the earliest signs that alignment has begun. Your inner world always moves before your outer world does. When your emotional reactions change, your reality has already changed. When your internal dialogue softens and becomes supportive, you have already stepped into the new state. And once you are in that state, life starts to bend around you. Alignment may show up in subtle ways. People may treat you differently without knowing why. Opportunities you once struggled to reach may start moving toward you. Situations that felt stuck suddenly begin to flow. Obstacles dissolve. Delays turn into divine timing. This isn't luck, it's the natural consequence of inner persistence. The moment you decide that your chosen reality is true, everything begins to shift. The world around you is not static, it is fluid, flexible, and deeply responsive to your inner assumptions. The outer world cannot resist the inner reality you consistently occupy. It must conform to it. Persistence does not mean obsessing. It means gently returning to the feeling of your fulfilled desire whenever doubt tries to distract you. It means choosing your inner world over the temporary evidence of the outer world. It means refusing to be moved by appearances, knowing that appearances are only the shadows of past states. The more you persist, the faster alignment happens. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. What once felt distant becomes familiar. What once required effort begins to unfold naturally, effortlessly, as if life itself is supporting you. Everything is aligning for you the moment you persist, not because you forced the world to change, but because you changed, and the world is simply following your lead. In persistence, you become the creator, the author, and the director of your reality. And alignment becomes not a miracle, but a certainty. In the end, everything you seek already exists within you. The signs, the synchronicities, the inner shifts, the quiet proofs, they are all pointing to one truth. Your world is responding to your belief, your imagination, your chosen reality. You are not waiting for life to change. Life is waiting for you to recognize the power you already hold. The moment you choose your state, the moment you assume fulfillment, the moment you persist in what you know to be true, creation is complete. The rest is simply the world catching up. So notice the signs, trust the unseen, honor the inner work, and walk forward with the quiet confidence of someone who knows that everything is already coming together. Your manifestation is not approaching, it is unfolding. Your new reality is not distant, it is here, revealing itself piece by piece. Stay faithful to the end you have claimed, and watch how effortlessly life aligns to reflect it. Thank you for listening, and thank you for allowing these words to be a part of your journey. May your inner world continue to shape a reality that exceeds every expectation.
Good evening, my friends. Tonight we are going to go deeper than we have ever gone before into the one thing that determines whether your desire manifests or remains forever a fantasy. Tonight I am going to take you into the very heart of manifestation itself. Tonight you are going to truly understand for the first time what it means to feel. You have heard it 1,000 times. Feeling is the secret. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Feel it real. Every teacher says it. Every book repeats it. And yet most of you still do not know what this means. You think you do. You believe you are doing it, but you are not. And that is why your desires remain unfulfilled. Tonight that changes. Tonight I am going to show you what feeling actually is, what it is not, and how to master it so completely that manifestation becomes not just possible, but inevitable. Let me start by showing you what you are doing wrong. And I know you are doing it wrong because if you were doing it right, you would already have everything you desire. So let me show you the mistake nearly everyone makes. When I tell you to feel your desire fulfilled, what do? You try to generate an emotion. You try to feel happy. You try to feel excited. You try to feel grateful. You sit there and you work yourself up into an emotional state. And you think, yes, I am feeling it. I am so happy. I am so excited. And you do this for 5 minutes, maybe 10. And then you open your eyes and you go about your day feeling quite proud of yourself for doing the work. And nothing manifests. Days pass, weeks pass, months pass, and you wonder, but I felt it. I felt so happy when I imagined having my desire. Why is it not here? I will tell you why. Because you were feeling the wrong thing. Happiness is not the feeling. Excitement is not the feeling. Gratitude, joy, relief, peace. None of these emotions are the feeling. These are the effects of the feeling. But they are not the feeling itself. Let me give you an aha moment right now. Stop everything you think you know and listen carefully. The feeling is not an emotion. The feeling is a sense of being. Let that sink in. The feeling is not an emotion. The feeling is a sense of being. When I say assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, I do not mean feel happy about your wish being fulfilled. I mean feel yourself to be the person who has your wish fulfilled. Do you see the difference? One is an emotion. The other is an identity. One is a temporary state you can conjure up and then lose 5 minutes later. The other is a fundamental shift in who you know yourself to be. Now let me go deeper. Let me show you what this feeling truly is, because until you understand this, you cannot master it. The feeling is the inner knowing that you are something. It is the silent, wordless conviction of being. Think about how you feel yourself to be human right now, not the emotion of being human. The sense of being human. It is not something you have to convince yourself of. It is not something you try to feel. It is simply what you are. You are human. This is not a hope. This is not a belief. This is a knowing so deep, so automatic, so natural that you never question it. This is the feeling you must have about your desire. Not I feel happy imagining I am wealthy, but I am wealthy. Not the emotion of wealth, the being of wealth, the identity of wealth, the naturalness of wealth. Let me show you how this works in your current reality. Right now, you feel yourself to be a certain kind of person. Perhaps you feel yourself to be someone who struggles with money. This is not an emotion. You do not wake up every morning and feel sad about money. The feeling is deeper than that. It is the silent assumption running beneath all your thoughts, I am someone who struggles with money. This is your sense of being regarding money. And because you feel yourself to be this, because this is your inner knowing, your world reflects it perfectly. Circumstances arise that match this feeling. Bills come. Expenses appear. Opportunities slip away. Not because the universe is punishing you, but because your world must reflect the person you feel yourself to be. When you want to manifest wealth, you cannot simply feel happy about the idea of being wealthy while continuing to feel yourself to be someone who struggles. The happy feeling is temporary. It fades, but the deep feeling of being that persists, and the persistent feeling is what creates. So the question is not, did I feel happy when I visualized? The question is, who do I feel myself to be? Let me take you even deeper now. There are 2 levels of feeling, and you must understand both. The first level is what I call surface feeling. This is emotion, happiness, excitement, gratitude, relief. These are real. These are valid. These can be part of the experience. But they are not the foundation. They are the decoration on the house, not the house itself. The second level is what I call foundational feeling. This is identity. This is being. This is the deep, silent knowing of what you are. And this is what creates your reality. Most of you are working only with surface feeling. You generate emotions during your practice and think you have done the work. But the moment you stop focusing, the emotion fades and you return to your foundational feeling, which has not changed at all. You still feel yourself to be the person who does not have, who is waiting, who is hoping. And so nothing changes in your outer world because nothing changed in your inner being. But when you shift the foundational feeling, when you change who you feel yourself to be at the deepest level, everything in your outer world must shift to match. This is law. This is absolute. This cannot fail. So how do you shift foundational feeling? How do you change not just what you feel about something, but who you feel yourself to be? That is what I am going to teach you now. The secret to mastering feeling is understanding that feeling is not something you do. Feeling is something you are. You do not do being human. You are human. You do not do having hands. You have hands. The having is natural, automatic, assumed. There is no effort in it. This is what you must achieve with your desire. Not doing the feeling of having it, but being the person who has it. And the difference between doing and being is everything. Let me show you how to move from doing to being. Right now, I want you to think about something you already have. Something simple. Perhaps you have a bed, Perhaps you have a favorite cup. Perhaps you have a particular item of clothing you love. Choose something you have without question. Now, how do you feel about having this thing? Notice that you do not have to generate a feeling. You do not have to convince yourself you have it. You do not have to visualize having it. You simply know you have it. This knowing is so natural, so assumed, so automatic, that you never think about it. This is the feeling you must have about your desire. Not I am trying to feel like I have wealth, but I have wealth. The knowing is simple, natural, assumed. It requires no effort. It is just what is. But how do you get to this place of natural knowing when your current circumstances scream the opposite? How do you feel yourself to be wealthy when your bank account is empty? How do you feel yourself to be loved when you sleep alone? How do you feel yourself to be healthy when your body is sick? This is where most people give up. They say, but Neville, I cannot feel wealthy when I have no money. I cannot feel loved when I am alone. The circumstances contradict the feeling. And this is where I must wake you up to the truth. The circumstances do not create the feeling. The feeling creates the circumstances. You think you will feel wealthy when you have money. But you will have money when you feel wealthy. You think you will feel loved when someone loves you. But someone will love you when you feel loved. You think you will feel healthy when your body heals. But your body will heal when you feel healthy. The feeling must come first, always. And the feeling is not dependent on circumstances. The feeling is dependent only on your imagination. Now let me teach you how to actually enter the feeling. How to shift from the person you have been feeling yourself to be to the person you desire to feel yourself to be. This is not about emotion. This is not about trying. This is about a gentle shift in awareness, a subtle turning of attention that changes everything. Close your eyes for a moment. I want you to feel who you are right now, not think about who you are. Feel who you are. Notice the silent sense of self that exists beneath all your thoughts. This is you. This is your current sense of being. Now I want you to notice something. This sense of self, this feeling of being who you are, it is not solid, it is not fixed. It is actually quite fluid. You can shift it simply by shifting your awareness. Think about a time in your life when you felt completely different than you do now. Perhaps a time when you felt confident, powerful, certain. For just a moment, remember that version of you, not the circumstances of that time, but the sense of self, the feeling of being that person. Do you notice that just by remembering, just by turning your attention to that version of you, something shifts? You feel different, not dramatically, not with great emotion. But there is a subtle shift in your sense of being. This is what I want you to understand. You can shift who you feel yourself to be simply by shifting your attention. And when you shift who you feel yourself to be, you shift what you create. So here is the practice. When you want to manifest something, do not try to generate emotion about having it. Instead, gently shift your awareness to being the person who has it. How do you do this? You imagine. But not in the way you have been imagining. Not creating a scene and watching yourself in it, but stepping into the scene and being yourself in it. Let me give you an example. Suppose you desire wealth. Most of you would visualize money. Perhaps see yourself looking at a bank statement. Maybe imagine yourself buying something expensive. And you would try to feel excited or happy or grateful about this. But this is external. You are watching yourself have wealth. You are feeling emotions about the idea of wealth, but you are not being wealthy. Instead, I want you to imagine being the wealthy version of you, not doing wealthy things, being the wealthy person. Close your eyes and ask yourself, how does a wealthy person feel about themselves? Not about their money, about themselves. What is their sense of self? What is their internal state? A wealthy person feels secure. Not because they have money, but as a fundamental sense of self. Security is who they are. A wealthy person feels free. They feel relaxed. They feel like they have options. They feel like they are enough. They feel valuable. They feel worthy. These are not emotions. These are states of being. And you can enter these states right now without a single dollar in your bank account, simply by shifting your awareness. Try it now. Close your eyes and say to yourself, I am secure, I am free, I have options, I am valuable, I am worthy. Not as affirmations you are trying to believe, but as a gentle recognition of a version of you that already exists in imagination. Feel how this version of you moves through the world. Feel how this version of you thinks about money. Feel how this version of you makes decisions. Feel how this version of you speaks to others. You are not trying to convince yourself of anything. You are simply being this version of you. And the more you practice being this version, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the more your outer world shifts to match who you are being. Let me show you the crucial difference between trying to feel and actually feeling, because this is where most people get stuck. When you try to feel, there is effort, there is reaching, there is a sense of, I do not have this yet, but I am trying to convince myself I do. This effort itself is the problem, because effort implies lack. You only try to feel what you do not already feel. You only try to be what you are not already being. But when you simply are, there is no effort. There is just a gentle resting in the state. It is like when you sit in a chair. You do not try to sit. You do not convince yourself you are sitting. You simply sit. And the sitting is natural, easy, effortless. This is how feeling your desire fulfilled should be. Natural, easy, effortless. You are simply resting in the state of being the person who has your desire. Here is how you know you are trying versus being. If there is strain, you are trying. If there is peace, you are being. If you are working hard to maintain the feeling, you are trying. If the feeling is simply there, quiet and natural, you are being. Most of you are exhausting yourselves trying to feel. And then you wonder why the feeling does not last. It does not last because you are treating it like a doing instead of a being. You are treating it like an activity you must perform, instead of a state you simply inhabit. Now let me give you another aha moment. You cannot lose a state of being. You can only step out of it. The state is always there. You are simply choosing which state to inhabit with your awareness. Right now, infinite states exist. The state of being wealthy exists. The state of being loved exists. The state of being healthy exists. They are not somewhere in the future. They are here now in consciousness. And you can step into any of them simply by turning your awareness to them. When you lose the feeling, you have not actually lost anything. You have simply shifted your awareness back to the old state. The new state is still there. You have just stopped being it. So mastering the feeling is not about holding on to something. It is about learning to continuously return your awareness to the state you wish to inhabit, over and over, gently, naturally, until being in that state becomes more natural than being in the old state. Now let me give you the test that tells you whether you have truly mastered the feeling or whether you are still just playing with surface emotions. The test is this. Does it feel natural? When you think about your desire, does it feel natural to have it? Not exciting, not thrilling, natural. Like of course you have it. Like it is simply what is. Think about the things you already have. They feel natural. You do not get excited thinking about them. You do not need to convince yourself you have them. You simply know you have them. And the knowing is quiet, calm, natural. This is what your desire must feel like. Not, oh my God, I am so excited, I have this. But of course I have this. This is just how things are. When the desire feels natural, you have mastered the feeling. When it still feels exciting or unbelievable, you are still working with surface emotion, not foundational being. Here is another test. Can you forget about it? Not in the sense of giving up on it, but in the sense of not needing to constantly think about it, or check for it, or monitor it. Things you truly have you can forget about. You do not spend all day thinking about your bed or your shoes or your name. You have them. They are yours. You can forget about them and go about your life. But things you are trying to manifest, you cannot forget about. You obsess over them. You check for them. You wonder when they will arrive. This constant checking is proof that you have not truly felt yourself to be the person who has them. Because the person who has them does not check. They already know. So when you can think about your desire with the same casual naturalness that you think about anything else you possess, you have mastered the feeling. When you can go hours or days without obsessing over whether it is coming, you have mastered the feeling. When the having of it feels so natural that you sometimes forget you once did not have it, you have mastered the feeling. Now let me give you a specific technique for developing this natural feeling, for moving from trying to being, for saturating yourself so completely in the state that it becomes your new normal. I call this saturation because you are going to saturate your consciousness with the state of being the person who has your desire, until that state becomes as natural as breathing. Here is how you do it. You are going to spend one full day, just one day to start, being the person who has your desire, not visualizing about having it, not hoping you will have it, being the person who has it. From the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, you are going to move through your day as this person. You are going to think their thoughts. You are going to make their decisions. You are going to respond to situations as they would respond. You are going to inhabit their state of being completely. This does not mean you pretend you see money in your account when you do not. This does not mean you act as if externally. This means you feel yourself to be internally the person who has what you desire, and you let that internal state inform how you move through your day. Let me show you how this works practically. Suppose you desire wealth. For one day, you are going to feel yourself to be a wealthy person, not someone trying to become wealthy, not someone hoping to be wealthy, a wealthy person. When you wake up as a wealthy person. How does a wealthy person feel when they wake up? Probably secure, relaxed, free. Feel this. Not as an emotion you generate, but as a state you inhabit. You are a wealthy person. This is who you are today. When you go about your morning routine, you do so as a wealthy person. You shower as someone who has financial freedom. You dress as someone who feels valuable and worthy. You eat breakfast as someone who knows they have options and resources. Notice I am not saying pretend to be rich. I am saying be the person who feels wealthy. There is a difference. Being wealthy is an internal state. It is a sense of self. It is a feeling of security, freedom, worth. And you can feel this right now regardless of your bank account. Throughout your day, every decision you make it from this state. Every thought you think it from this person. Every interaction you have it as this version of you. And here is what will happen. At first it will feel strange. Your old patterns will try to reassert themselves. Old thoughts will come. Old reactions will arise. But each time they do, you simply return to the state. You remind yourself, I am a wealthy person. This is who I am today. And you feel yourself to be that again. Do this for one full day. Not perfectly. You will slip dozens of times, but each time you slip, you return. Gently, without judgment. You just return to being the person, and something remarkable will happen. By the end of that day, the state will feel more natural. The being of it will feel more real. You will have moments where you forget you are practicing, and you simply are this person. This is saturation. You are saturating your consciousness with the new state. And the more you saturate, the more natural it becomes. And the more natural it becomes, the more automatically you create from it. Do this for one day, then do it again the next day. Then again and again, until being this person feels more natural than being the old person. Until you are no longer returning to the state because you never left it. This is how you master the feeling. Not through intense visualization sessions. Not through emotional manipulation, but through gentle, consistent saturation in the state of being what you desire to be. Let me bring everything together now. With the ultimate truth about feeling, the truth that, when fully understood, makes manifestation effortless. You are not trying to feel your desires fulfilled. You are feeling yourself to be the person whose desires fulfilled. These sound similar, but they are completely different. One is about the desire, the other is about you. One is external, The other is internal. One is temporary. The other is foundational. Your desire is just a reflection of who you feel yourself to be. Wealthy people have wealth, not because they are lucky, but because they feel themselves to be wealthy people. Loved people experience love not because they found the right person, but because they feel themselves to be lovable. Successful people achieve success not because they worked harder, but because they feel themselves to be successful. So stop focusing on the desire. Start focusing on who you are being. Stop trying to feel like you have it. Start being the person who has it. And the having will follow automatically, inevitably, because the outer world must reflect the inner being. Tonight you have one assignment. Before you sleep, I want you to answer this question with brutal honesty. Who do I feel myself to be? Not who do you hope to be? Not who do you try to be? Who do you actually genuinely deeply feel yourself to be when no one is watching, when you are alone with your thoughts, when you are not performing or pretending? Write it down. Look at it. This is what you are creating. This is what your world is reflecting. Then ask yourself, who do I want to feel myself to be? Not what do I want to have? Who do I want to be? What kind of person has the life I desire? What is their sense of self? What is their foundational feeling? And then, starting tomorrow, you are going to practice being this person. Not perfectly, not constantly, but consciously, deliberately, persistently. You are going to shift your awareness to this version of you, and you are going to practice being them until being them feels more natural than being who you were. This is the work. This is the practice. This is mastering the feeling. The feeling is not emotion. The feeling is not excitement. The feeling is not trying. The feeling is being. You master the feeling by learning to be the person who has your desire, instead of trying to feel emotions about your desire. You master the feeling by saturating yourself in the state until it becomes natural. You master the feeling by changing your inner conversation until it matches the identity you wish to embody. You master the feeling by making it so natural that you forget you once did not have what you now have. Do this, and everything you desire must manifest. Not because you hoped hard enough, not because you visualized perfectly, but because you became the person to whom these things naturally belong. You are not waiting to have. You are learning to be. And being always precedes having. Master the feeling, and you master your reality. Thank you and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I will see you in the next video.
You stand today not as someone trying to win, but as someone awakening to a victory that has already been written into your being. The triumph you seek is not ahead of you, it is within you, complete, finished, sealed. Your work now is not to earn it, fight for it, or chase it. Your work is to realize it, to feel it, to embody it, until the outer world has no choice but to bow to the truth you carry. Everything you desire already exists in its completed form. The version of you who has the breakthrough, the healing, the abundance, the love, the success, that version is not a dream. It is already alive in your imagination, waiting for your acceptance. The moment you feel yourself to be victorious, the moment you claim the state of fulfillment, creation is complete. The world simply moves to catch up with what you have already claimed internally. Every outer event in your life is a mirror reflecting the state you occupy within. If the mirror shows lack or limitation, do not argue with the reflection. Change the inner state, and the reflection must change. Set your attention on the version of you who already possesses the victory. Live from that state. Think from that state. Move, breathe, and feel from that state. And watch the world reshape itself. When circumstances appear to contradict your desire, understand that they are merely the fading echoes of an old assumption. They are not prophecy, they are residue. Every old condition must dissolve as you persist in your new identity. Do not be discouraged by delay. Delay is simply the period in which the unseen becomes arranged, aligned, and prepared for its emergence into the visible world. Your imagination is the birthplace of every future event. Your feelings are the substance that gives it life. When you assume the victory, when you claim yourself as the one who has already received, you activate the invisible currents that shape destiny. Life begins to move in ways you cannot predict. Opportunities appear. Doors open, people shift, paths clear. Because reality must honor the state you occupy. Do not question how it will happen. Do not analyze the mechanics. The how belongs to the unseen intelligence that governs all creation. Your only responsibility is to dwell in the end, to feel the victory as though it is already yours. When you accept the fulfillment emotionally, spiritually, and mentally, the bridge of events begins to form beneath your feet. You will be guided effortlessly from where you stand to where you have already arrived, inwardly. This is the great secret. Victory is not created, it is recognized. You awaken to it, you align with it, you embody it. And then it breaks into visibility as naturally as sunrise breaks the darkness. So today, step into the knowing that you already have the victory. It is not becoming yours, you are becoming aware of it. The transformation is not in the world, it is in you. And as you shift, the world must shift with you. Hold your head high. Walk as the one who already possesses the blessing. Speak as the one whose prayer is already answered. Feel as the one whose manifestation is guaranteed. Because the truth is simple, profound, and unstoppable. You already have the victory. And now it's becoming reality. Victory begins in the invisible chambers of your inner world long before it takes shape in the physical. Everything you will ever achieve, experience, or encounter must first be conceived and accepted within your imagination. This is the great secret behind all creation. Nothing enters your life unless you have first allowed it entry in the unseen realm. Your imagination is not a place of fantasy. It is the workshop where your future is forged. When you accept a state inwardly, when you feel it, embody it, and identify with it, you give life to the blueprint from which your reality must build itself. You do not manifest what you want, you manifest who you are within. This is why inner victory is the true starting point. If you attempt to change your outer life while remaining defeated internally, nothing shifts. You will continue to attract circumstances that reflect the state you occupy. But the moment you dare to accept victory within your imagination, even when evidence seems absent, you set in motion a process that is far more powerful than effort, struggle, or willpower. Imagination is the womb of miracles. And acceptance is the spark that brings them into form. The world you see around you is a projection of the world you carry within. Every accomplishment, every breakthrough, every blessing first appeared as a thought, a feeling, a knowing. When you claim victory within yourself, when you confidently assume that the result you desire is already yours, the outer world begins to shift. People you have never met, circumstances you could never predict, and events you could not orchestrate start aligning themselves to match the state you have accepted. This is not magic, it is law. The inner state always determines the outer expression. Notice how life responds when you shift your inner focus. When you mentally step into the identity of someone who has succeeded, your actions naturally follow. You speak differently, make different choices, walk with greater assurance, and treat yourself with higher respect. This inner alignment produces outer opportunities, and those opportunities become visible proof of the state you have internalized. Victory is not something you fight to achieve. It is something you allow yourself to receive by first accepting it as your internal truth. Many people wait for evidence before they believe, but the evidence only appears after belief is established. To insist on seeing results before accepting them is like demanding a reflection appear in the mirror before standing in front of it. The outer world is your mirror, and imagination is your position before it. When you accept victory inwardly, when you feel the joy, relief, confidence, and gratitude of already having what you desire, your reflection must eventually show the same. There is no power outside of you that can override the state you continually accept within yourself. When you make your imagination your sanctuary and choose to dwell in the end result with unwavering faith, you activate the creative power that shapes all things. Victory exists first within. Once accepted, the world reorganizes itself. Situations rearrange themselves and pathways open until the invisible becomes visible. Your internal acceptance is the birthplace of every external triumph. Your inner knowing is the silent architect behind every outcome you experience. Long before anything becomes visible, it takes shape in the realm of your assumptions, your beliefs, and the quiet certainty you hold within yourself. Life is not responding to your wishes, it is responding to the conviction you carry in the depths of your being. The moment you feel something as done, not hoped for, not desired, but done, you impress that state upon your subconscious, and creation is set into motion. This inner acceptance becomes the blueprint, the pattern, and the design that the outer world must eventually mirror. Feeling something as done is more than positive thinking or affirmations. It is a shift in identity. It is you stepping into the state of the person who already has what they desire. It is a change in how you see yourself, how you interpret circumstances, and how you respond to life. This inner shift becomes the signal that the universe reads. When your conviction becomes unwavering, events, people, opportunities, and even seeming coincidences begin aligning themselves around your assumption. Life rearranges itself, not according to what is happening on the outside, but according to what you have claimed on the inside. There is a profound difference between hoping and knowing. Hope leaves room for doubt. Knowing leaves no space for contradiction. When you know something inwardly, when you feel it as certain and complete, that knowing generates a calm confidence that radiates through everything you do. You speak differently, your posture changes, your choices elevate, you stop chasing and begin attracting. You stop questioning and start trusting. These internal alignment becomes the magnet that draws the outer world into harmony with your inner reality. Every manifestation begins with this internal certainty. When you claim the end result emotionally and spiritually, you start to see signs that confirm it. Not because the signs cause the manifestation, but because your state of knowing allows you to recognize the unfolding that was already set in motion the moment you accepted the fulfillment within. The world can only present conditions that are in harmony with the blueprint you carry. If your inner knowing is one of lack or limitation, the world will reflect that. But if your knowing is rooted in abundance, success, love, or healing, then your life must outpicture those qualities. There is no power in effort if inner conviction is absent. But the smallest action taken from a state of knowing becomes powerful and aligned. Life rushes to support the version of you that you have claimed yourself to be. Doors open effortlessly. The right people appear. Obstacles dissolve. Paths clear. This is not luck. It is the effect of holding a steady, unwavering inner blueprint. Your inner conviction is not influenced by circumstances. Circumstances are influenced by your conviction. When you feel it as done, when you embody the certainty of your desired outcome, you activate the laws of creation that govern all things. Life begins, rearranging itself with precision, intelligence, and perfection to honor the inner blueprint you have accepted. The outer world is simply responding to the truth you have claimed within. Circumstances are nothing more than shadows cast by the inner state you inhabit. They may appear solid, intimidating, or immovable, but in truth they have no independent power. They are reflections, echoes of the assumptions, beliefs, and feelings you consistently hold within yourself. What you see around you at any moment is not a prophecy of your future, nor is it the truth of your destiny. It is simply the result of the state you have been dwelling in. And just as a shadow cannot resist the light that transforms it, circumstances cannot withstand a shift in your inner consciousness. The great mistake many people make is believing that circumstances are the cause of their emotional state. They look at their finances, their relationships, their health, or their current setbacks and assume these conditions dictate what is possible for them. But outer conditions do not dictate your destiny. They reveal the state you have been living from. If you change that inner state, the outer world must eventually change with it. It has no choice. It is bound to follow the inner pattern, just as a mirror must reflect the face standing before it. When you recognize that circumstances are shadows, you stop fighting them. You stop reacting to them with fear, anxiety, or frustration. Instead, you look within and ask, what state am I occupying that is being reflected back to me? This question reclaims your power. It shifts your attention away from the illusion of limitation and returns it to the source of all change, your inner world. If you dwell in lack, you see lack. If you dwell in fear, you encounter fear. But when you dwell in abundance, confidence, love, or victory, the world reorganizes itself to mirror those qualities. Shadows cannot stop you because they are not the truth. They are temporary expressions of old assumptions that are dissolving the moment you choose a new state. Even when circumstances appear stubborn or overwhelming, they are simply the final remnants of a previous inner pattern. They are not evidence of failure. They are evidence that you are transitioning from one state to another. They are the fading ripples of an old belief system losing its power. Your destiny is not written by the conditions around you. It is written by the identity you choose to claim. The inner state you dwell in is the author of your future. When you embody the feeling of success, even when outer conditions contradict it, you are planting the seeds of a new reality. And just as seeds take time to break through the soil, your new state may take time to appear outwardly, but it will appear. Persistence in your chosen state guarantees it. Do not allow circumstances to convince you that you are limited. They are not barriers, they are mirrors. They only show you who you have been, not who you are becoming. When you shift your inner dwelling place, when you assume the identity of the person who already has the blessing, the shadows must realign. They must reshape. They must obey. The outer world cannot resist the power of a transformed inner state. Your destiny lies not in circumstances, but in the state you choose to inhabit right now. To assume the end is to step into the state of the wish fulfilled with such conviction, clarity, and emotional certainty that the outcome becomes real to you long before it becomes visible to anyone else. It means you deliberately occupy the feeling of already having what you desire, regardless of what your senses report. This is not imagination as a distraction. It is imagination as creation. When you assume the end, you shift your identity, your focus, and your emotional frequency to match the reality you seek. And once that inner shift occurs, the outer world must eventually conform. The unseen becomes seen through persistence. A single moment of imagining may inspire you, but it is sustained inner alignment that brings your desire into form. Every time you return to the feeling of fulfillment, every time you dwell in the state of having rather than wanting, you impress this assumption deeper into your subconscious mind. It becomes the dominant pattern, the inner blueprint from which reality is shaped. This repeated acceptance gives substance to the invisible, until what was once merely imagined begins to crystallize in the physical world. Crystallization is the natural consequence of inner certainty. Just as water vapor becomes rain when enough pressure builds, your inner feeling solidifies into physical experience when your conviction becomes stronger than your doubt. The unseen is not intangible, it simply awaits your persistence. Your thoughts, emotions, and assumptions gather power every time you revisit them. With consistent alignment, they condense into events, opportunities, and encounters that reflect the state you have claimed. Persistence is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is not effort, struggle, or force. It is simply the willingness to return again and again to the end result, to keep your mental attention anchored in the fulfillment rather than the lack. You persist by feeling the joy, peace, gratitude, or confidence of already having what you desire. These emotions are creative forces. They prepare your inner world to receive, and in doing so, instruct the outer world on what to deliver. Obstacles may arise, but they are not signs of failure. They are signs of restructuring. Old assumptions surface because they are being replaced. Circumstances may seem to resist your desire because they are remnants of past states dissolving. This is why persistence is essential, not to overpower the world, but to outlast the illusions that once governed it. When you remain loyal to the end, everything that contradicts it must eventually fall away. The moment you assume the end, creation is finished. What follows is the unfolding, the gradual crystallization of your inner acceptance into tangible experiences. Just as a seed germinates in darkness before breaking through the soil, your manifestation takes shape in the unseen before it becomes visible. Trust this process. Continue to dwell in the state of fulfillment. Treat your desire as already accomplished, and let your feelings testify to its reality. As you persist, the invisible will inevitably harden into the visible. What you have claimed within will step forward into your world, precise and undeniable. The unseen is always waiting to crystallize. It only asks for your unwavering assumption of the end. Delay is one of the most misunderstood parts of the manifestation process. Many people interpret delay as denial, as if the absence of immediate results means the desire is not coming or was never meant for them. But delay is not a dismissal of your blessing. It is the period of formation, the sacred interval in which the invisible aligns itself with your inner state. The victory is already yours in consciousness the moment you accept it. What you call waiting is simply life arranging the perfect conditions for its appearance. Creation is complete the instant you assume the state of the wish fulfilled. But the outer world operates in time. Time is not an obstacle. It is the servant that ensures the invisible becomes visible in an orderly, precise, and harmonious way. If everything you imagine materialized instantly, your life would collapse into chaos. Time provides structure. It allows events to unfold in their proper sequence, relationships to form, opportunities to mature, and environments to prepare for what you have accepted internally. The delay you experience is not a block. It is the unfolding of a bridge of incidents that leads you from where you are to where you have already arrived inwardly. Think of delay as gestation. Just as a seed planted in the soil does not sprout the moment it is buried, your desires need time to germinate beneath the surface of your awareness. You cannot dig up the seed every day to check if it is growing, and you cannot doubt its ability to produce a harvest simply because the ground looks unchanged. The seed is working, forming, strengthening, preparing. So too is your desire taking shape in the unseen. The conditions you need are aligning. The right people are being positioned. The right circumstances are being constructed. What seems like stillness is actually movement at a level you cannot yet see. When you understand that delay is formation, your anxiety dissolves. You stop questioning whether the manifestation is coming. You stop looking for signs with desperation. Instead, you rest in the knowing that it is done, and that time is simply orchestrating its appearance. This inner calm accelerates the process because doubt no longer interrupts the formation. Fear no longer destabilizes the state you have accepted. You remain aligned, steady, and faithful, allowing the unseen to unfold without interference. The moment you assume your victory, it becomes a spiritual fact. Time then obeys that fact. It begins reshaping the world around you so that the invisible truth can step into visibility. There is no randomness in this process. The delay is purposeful. It is intelligent. It ensures that what belongs to you arrives in a way that sustains you, supports you, and elevates you. Nothing meant for you is ever denied. It simply arrives at the moment when the path is clear and the conditions are ready. When you trust that delay is formation, not denial, you become unshakable. You walk as someone who already has the blessing. You speak from fulfillment, not from longing. You live in gratitude, not in doubt. And in that state of inner certainty, time delivers what you have already claimed within. The victory is yours. Time is only doing its appointed work of carrying it into form. Your faith is the silent authority that shapes your world. It is not loud, forceful, or dramatic, yet it carries more creative power than any amount of physical effort. The outer world does not respond to your struggle, your worry, or your attempts to force outcomes into place. It responds to the quiet, unshakable conviction you hold within yourself. When you decide inwardly that something is yours, when you feel it with certainty and align your identity with it, you grant creation the only permission it needs to bring that desire into form. Faith is not hoping, wishing, or begging. Faith is knowing. It is the inner stance that says, "This is already mine," even when outer conditions seem to contradict it. It is the confidence that allows you to move through life without anxiously searching for evidence, because the evidence is already established within your imagination. Faith replaces effort because it operates at the level where all things are created. To struggle attempts to manipulate the shadows. Faith transforms the source. When you hold a state of inner certainty, your actions, your energy, and your decisions naturally align with that state. You begin to take inspired steps instead of desperate ones. You move with clarity rather than confusion. You attract solutions instead of chasing them. This alignment opens paths that were previously hidden and dissolves barriers that once seemed immovable. The world is always responding to who you believe yourself to be, not who you are trying to be externally, but who you are convinced you are internally. Most people exhaust themselves trying to change the world from the outside in. They work harder, push harder, and worry more, thinking that struggle will produce results. But struggle is a sign of inner doubt. It is effort born from disbelief. And because the outer world mirrors your inner state, struggle tends to produce more struggle. Faith, on the other hand, is effortless because it comes from assurance. When you know something is already yours, you relax, you release tension, you stop forcing. You allow life to move through you with flow rather than friction. Faith is permission because it signals to the deeper creative power within you that you are ready to receive. It is the inner agreement that opens the channel between the unseen and the seen. Once you accept something emotionally and spiritually, the physical world must reorganize itself to reflect that acceptance. This is not philosophy, it is law. The world cannot produce anything that contradicts your dominant inner conviction. Your certainty becomes the instruction. Your belief becomes the blueprint. Your faith becomes the command that shapes the unfolding of events. When you detach from fear and fully assume the state of the fulfilled desire, you no longer chase outcomes, you attract them. You no longer try to control life. You cooperate with the deeper intelligence that is always working in your favor. Nothing outside of you determines what is possible. No circumstance, no limitation, no setback, no delay has the power to override the authority of your faith. The world is simply a mirror reflecting your inner state. When your inner certainty becomes unshakable, the world is compelled to rearrange itself to match it. Your faith is the only permission needed. The moment you believe, creation begins. In the end, everything you seek begins within you. Victory is not something you chase, it is something you awaken to. The moment you claim your desire internally, the moment you step into the feeling of the end, creation is set in motion. Circumstances shift, paths open, time aligns, and life moves with precision to reflect the state you have accepted. What was once invisible begins to crystallize. What felt distant becomes inevitable. Your imagination becomes the birthplace of every breakthrough, and your faith becomes the force that brings it into visibility. So walk with the quiet confidence of someone who already possesses the blessing. Live from the truth that the victory is already yours. Let your inner knowing guide you, let your persistence anchor you, and let your faith elevate you above every shadow of circumstance. When you dwell in the end, life must honor your assumption. Thank you for listening, and thank you for stepping into the power of your own inner victory.
Good evening, my friends. Tonight I want to cut through all the confusion, all the complexity, all the mystical nonsense that surrounds the topic of money manifestation. I want to give you the pure, undiluted truth about how to manifest money and how to do it quickly. You've been lied to about money your entire life. You've been told that money requires hard work, sacrifice, and years of grinding effort. You've been told that wealth is for other people, the lucky ones, the connected ones, the talented ones. You've been told to be realistic about your financial expectations. But what if I told you that every single limitation you've accepted about money is nothing more than a belief you inherited from people who didn't understand how reality actually works? What if the reason you haven't manifested the wealth you desire has nothing to do with the economy, your education, your background, or your circumstances? The truth is this: you are living with the most sophisticated wealth creation technology ever designed, and it's been with you since the day you were born. It's your consciousness, your imagination, your ability to assume a state and make it real through the sheer power of persistent feeling. But most people never learn how to use this power. They treat their mind like a broken instrument, letting it play the same old songs of limitation. Money doesn't grow on trees. I can't afford it. Rich people are just lucky. These are not truths. These are permissions you've given reality to keep you poor. Tonight I'm going to teach you how to revoke those permissions. I'm going to show you that your current bank balance is not a fact about your future. It's simply a photograph of your past consciousness. And you can burn that photograph right now and begin creating a masterpiece. And here's what neuroscience now confirms about this difference in thinking. Your brain cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you imagine financial success with enough sensory detail and emotional intensity, your brain begins rewiring itself to match that vision. New neural pathways form. Old patterns dissolve. Your entire nervous system reorganizes around your new assumption. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't wishful fantasy. This is the precise mechanism through which consciousness creates physical reality. And once you understand how to use it deliberately, money can flow to you faster than you ever thought possible. When you imagine biting into a lemon, your mouth literally starts to water. When you imagine your financial success with enough detail and emotion, your brain begins rewiring itself to make that vision your reality. This isn't wishful thinking. But here's what most people don't understand. Belief isn't just a casual thought or fleeting wish. It's an unshakable conviction that something is not only possible, but already in the process of becoming your reality. When you truly believe, not hope, not wish, but believe that wealth is your natural state, the entire universe begins to rearrange itself to match that belief. Think about this. Everything you see around you right now, the chair you're sitting in, the building you're in, all of it started as someone's belief. Someone believed it was possible before it existed in the physical world. Your wealth is no different. It exists first in your mind, then in your reality. Right now, you have an invisible thermostat in your mind that's set to your current income level. When opportunities arise to earn more, your internal thermostat kicks in with thoughts like, "This is too good to be true," or "I don't deserve this." It pulls you back to what feels familiar, even if familiar means struggling, but thermostats can be reset. I challenge you to do something radical. For the next 30 seconds, I want you to imagine that you're already living the financial life of your dreams. Don't think about how. Just imagine the feeling. Feel the weight lifted off your shoulders when bills arrive. Feel the confidence of knowing you can handle any financial emergency. Feel the joy of helping others because you have abundance to share. Did you feel that shift, that small flutter of excitement? That's your inner wealth recognizing itself. That feeling is more real than the numbers in your bank account right now. Your belief system is like the foundation of a house. If the foundation is weak, the house will crumble. If your belief in your ability to create wealth is shaky, your financial structure will always be unstable. But when you build an unshakable foundation of belief in your worthiness and capability, you can build any level of wealth on top of it. Learn to use the creative workshop of your mind. Your imagination is not just some frivolous fantasy machine. It's the most powerful creative workshop you possess. Every millionaire, every successful entrepreneur, every person who has ever created significant wealth started in the same place. Their imagination. But here's the key. They didn't just daydream. They created detailed, vivid mental movies of their success. They saw themselves counting specific amounts of money. They felt the texture of crisp bills in their hands. They heard the sounds of prosperity. The conversations with financial advisors. The discussions about investment opportunities. I want you to create your own mental movie right now. See yourself opening your bank statement and feeling pure joy at the numbers. Visualize yourself making a purchase without checking the price first. Picture yourself confidently discussing your latest business venture or investment. Make it so real that your body responds as if it's actually happening. The more detailed and emotionally charged your mental imagery becomes, the more your subconscious mind accepts it as real. And when your subconscious accepts something as real, it begins working around the clock to make it your physical reality. But don't just see the money. See the life it creates. Visualize the freedom to choose where you live based on desire, not necessity. See yourself traveling to places you've only dreamed of. Not because you saved for years, but because you can. Picture the confidence that comes with financial security. The way it changes how you walk into a room, how you speak, how you make decisions. Learn to live in the future you've just created. Here's where most people make a critical mistake. They think of their wealth as something that will happen someday. This keeps wealth perpetually in the future, always just out of reach. Instead, you must learn to live in the end result. To assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled right now. Living in the end doesn't mean pretending or lying to yourself about your current circumstances. It means emotionally and mentally inhabiting the reality of already having what you desire. It's about making decisions from the mindset of someone who already has wealth, not someone who's desperately trying to get it. When you live in the end, you stop operating from lack and need. You stop chasing money and start attracting it. You begin to embody the energy of wealth. And that energy becomes a magnet for financial opportunities. Your current circumstances, your job, your bank account, your bills. These are not your reality. They're temporary conditions based on your past thinking. Your true reality is what you're creating right now with your thoughts, beliefs, and assumptions. Don't let temporary conditions dictate your permanent identity. I know this might sound abstract, so let me make it practical. If you are already wealthy, how would you carry yourself? How would you speak? What decisions would you make? What opportunities would you pursue? Start being that person now. Don't wait for the money to show up before you become the person who can handle it. You also need to speak the language of abundance. Words are spells. That's why it's called spelling. Every time you say, I can't afford it, you're casting a spell of limitation. Every time you say money is tight, you're commanding your reality to squeeze your finances. Your subconscious mind is always listening, and it takes your words as commands. It doesn't judge whether your words are beneficial or harmful. It simply works to make them true. This is why the language you use about money is so crucial. Starting today, I want you to change your language. Instead of I can't afford it, say how can I afford it? Instead of I'm broke, say I'm between fortunes. Instead of money is the root of all evil, say money is a tool for good in the right hands. Instead of rich people are greedy, say wealthy people have the resources to make a difference. But here's the secret that makes affirmations truly powerful. You must feel the truth of what you're saying. Don't just repeat words mechanically. When you affirm money flows to me easily and effortlessly, take a moment to feel what that would be like. When you declare I am financially abundant, connect with the emotion of abundance. Your words must carry the energy of conviction, not desperation. They should come from a place of knowing, not hoping. The universe responds to the energy behind your words, not just the words themselves. You must feel wealthy. Emotion is the fuel that powers manifestation. Without the emotional charge, your desires remain as dormant as seeds without water. When you visualize your wealth, you must feel the emotions that come with it. Feel the relief of financial security. Feel the excitement of unlimited possibilities. Feel the gratitude for abundance. Feel the confidence that comes with knowing you're financially free. These emotions aren't just byproducts of your visualization. They're the driving force that propels your desires into physical reality. The universe responds to your emotional frequency. When you consistently emit the frequency of wealth and abundance, you attract circumstances that match that frequency. Think about it this way. When you're truly excited about something, doesn't it seem like everything aligns to help it happen? When you're passionate and enthusiastic, don't people want to help you? Don't opportunities seem to appear out of nowhere? This is the power of emotional alignment. But here's the challenge. You must feel wealthy regardless of your current circumstances. You can't wait for your bank account to grow before you feel abundant. You must feel abundant first, and then watch as your external reality catches up to your internal state. This isn't about denial or fake it till you make it. This is about recognizing that your emotional state is a choice, and choosing the emotions that serve your highest vision for your life. Also, learn the strategic art of detachment. Here's a paradox that confuses many people. You must be intensely focused on your goal while simultaneously detached from how it will manifest. You must care deeply about the end result while not caring about the specific path to get there. Most people make the mistake of trying to micromanage their manifestation. They become attached to specific methods, timelines, and circumstances. But this attachment creates resistance and anxiety, which actually pushes away what they're trying to attract. True manifestation requires what I call strategic detachment. You hold your vision firmly in your mind. You feel the emotions of already having it. You take inspired action when it presents itself. But you don't try to control every detail of how it unfolds. Think of it like planting a seed. You plant it, water it, make sure it gets sunlight. But you don't dig it up every day to check on its progress. You trust the natural process of growth. Your financial goals work the same way. The universe has access to resources, connections, and opportunities that you don't even know exist. When you try to control exactly how your wealth will come to you, you limit yourself to only what you can imagine. But when you detach from the how and focus on the what and the why, you open yourself to possibilities beyond your current comprehension. This doesn't mean you become passive. Inspired action is still essential. But inspired action comes from a place of excitement and opportunity, not desperation and forcing. When you're truly aligned with your vision, the right actions will feel natural and energizing, not forced and exhausting. The next secret is to use gratitude as a multiplier. Gratitude isn't just about being thankful for what you have. Strategic gratitude is about being thankful for what's coming. When you express genuine gratitude for the wealth that's on its way to you, you align yourself with the frequency of receiving. Start each day by saying thank you for the abundance that's flowing into my life today. Feel grateful for opportunities you haven't even discovered yet. Express appreciation for the financial breakthrough that's preparing itself for you. But don't just be grateful for money. Be grateful for your ability to create wealth. Be grateful for your imagination, your creativity, your unique talents and skills. Be grateful for the opportunities that exist in the world today that didn't exist even a few years ago. Be grateful for every small sign of abundance that shows up in your life. When you find a penny on the ground, when someone buys you coffee, when you receive an unexpected discount, acknowledge these as signs that the universe is conspiring to bring you abundance. This isn't delusion. This is preparation. You're preparing your mind to recognize and receive the wealth that's seeking you. Every morning, when you wake up, you have a choice. You can either spend your mental energy focusing on what you lack, or you can invest it in creating what you desire. This choice compounds over time. Imagine two people with identical circumstances. One spends their mental energy worrying about bills, complaining about their situation, and feeling envious of others' success. The other spends their mental energy visualizing their success, planning their moves, and maintaining unwavering faith in their ability to create wealth. After 1 year, these two people will be living completely different realities. Not because of luck, but because of the compound effect of their daily mental choices. Now let's talk about the power of inspired action. Here's where many people get confused. They think manifestation means sitting around waiting for money to fall from the sky. That's not how this works. Manifestation is about aligning your inner world with your desires and then taking inspired action from that aligned state. When you're truly aligned with wealth consciousness, you'll find yourself having conversations you wouldn't normally have, noticing opportunities that were always there but invisible to your scarcity mindset, feeling compelled to learn new skills or explore new ventures, making connections with people who can help accelerate your success, taking risks that your old self would have been too afraid to take. This is inspired action. Action that comes from alignment, not desperation. It feels energizing rather than exhausting, exciting rather than fearful, natural rather than forced. But here's the key. You must be willing to act when inspiration strikes. The universe is constantly sending you signs, opportunities, and impulses toward your wealth. But if you ignore them or make excuses, they'll stop coming. Pay attention to your intuition. When you get an idea for a business, a sudden urge to call someone, or an impulse to attend an event, follow it. These seemingly random impulses might be the universe's way of guiding you toward your financial breakthrough. Here's the final truth I want to leave you with. You already have everything you need to become wealthy. You have a mind that can imagine. You have emotions that can fuel your dreams. You have the ability to speak your desires into existence. You have the power to take action toward your goals. The only thing standing between you and the wealth you desire is your willingness to claim it. Not tomorrow. Not when conditions are perfect. Not when you feel more worthy. Now. Your abundance is waiting. Go claim it. The answer to whether you're ready will determine everything that happens next in your financial life. Choose wisely. Choose boldly. Remember, your current situation is not your final destination. You have everything within you right now to create the wealthy life you desire. Trust the process. Take aligned action and watch as your reality transforms to match your vision. Thank you, and good evening. As always, thank you for joining me on this journey into the depths of consciousness. Remember, you are not here by accident. You are here because your soul is ready for this truth. Take these teachings and let them transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Until we meet again in consciousness, keep assuming your greatness and living from the end of your desires. This is Best of Lectures, and I'll see you in the next video.
The win is done. Not tomorrow, not someday. It is finished now. What you are waiting for has already been decided, not in the outer world, but in the inner one. And the inner world is the only place where anything is ever truly created. The moment you accepted the idea of victory as natural, the moment you felt it as real, the moment you stopped asking if and began knowing that the win was sealed. Life does not struggle to give you what you are, it simply reflects it. You are not here to make things happen. You are here to allow what is already yours to arrive. The outer world must follow the inner command. It has no choice. It moves slowly sometimes, not because it resists you, but because it must reorganize itself to match what you have already claimed within. Do not mistake delay for denial. Do not mistake silence for absence. A seed planted does not shout as it grows, yet growth is inevitable. When you assume the feeling of victory, you are no longer hoping, you are being, and being is the highest form of power. The world rearranges itself around identity, not effort. When you live as the one who has already won, circumstances quietly shift to confirm it. Stop checking for proof. Proof follows assumption. It never precedes it. The moment you say within yourself, "This is done," something profound happens. The mind relaxes. The body softens. The chase ends. And in that stillness, reality begins to move. You do not need to force outcomes. You do not need to convince anyone. You do not need to fight the current of life. You simply need to remain faithful to the state you have chosen. Feel the relief of success. Feel the calm of completion. Feel the quiet confidence of someone who knows, because knowing is creation finished. Every time doubt appears, return to this truth. If it feels natural to you inside, it must become visible outside. That is law, not belief. Law. The win is not coming, it is entering. It enters through conversations you did not plan, through opportunities that appear ordinary, through doors that open without struggle. And when it arrives, it will feel familiar, because you have already lived it within. Remain where you are inwardly victorious. Remain loyal to the feeling of fulfillment. Remain still knowing the work is complete. The win is done, and life is now catching up. Before anything appears in the outer world, it is already complete within consciousness. What you eventually see with your eyes is only the echo of a decision that was made long before you noticed it. Victory is not something you create through effort or struggle, it is something you awaken to through awareness. The moment you accept an outcome as true inwardly, the win is already finished. What follows is not creation but revelation. Consciousness is the source from which all experiences flow. Every event, every circumstance, every visible result begins as an inner assumption. When you assume victory as real, when it feels natural and unquestioned inside you, life has no alternative but to express it. The outer world is not independent, it is obedient. It does not initiate, it responds. This is why waiting for physical proof before claiming success only delays its appearance. You are asking the mirror to smile first. The reason many people struggle is not because they lack ability, opportunity, or effort, but because they are trying to win in the world before they have won in themselves. They fight conditions, chase validation, and attempt to control outcomes, unaware that the true victory is an inner agreement. Once consciousness is settled, once there is inner knowing instead of hoping, the outcome is already secured. From that point onward, time becomes nothing more than a bridge leading to a predetermined end. Seeing is not believing. Believing is seeing. The world you observe is always a reflection of what you have accepted as true within. When victory exists in consciousness, doubt has no foundation. Doubt only appears when you are trying to claim something that does not yet feel natural to you. But when the feeling of fulfillment becomes familiar, the mind stops questioning. There is a calm certainty, a quiet confidence that does not need reassurance. This is the state in which outcomes are sealed. Even when nothing seems to be happening externally, the process is still unfolding. Life rearranges itself subtly, invisibly, bringing together the people, events, and circumstances required to match your inner state. Just as roots grow before the plant breaks the surface, victory organizes itself before it becomes visible. Impatience only arises when you forget that the win is already complete. If it were not finished, you would still be striving instead of knowing. To understand this is to release struggle. You stop forcing results and start allowing them. You stop asking when and start living as if it is done. This inner shift is powerful because it changes who you are being, and the world responds not to what you want, but to who you are. When you live from the awareness of victory, you naturally think, speak, and act in ways that align with it. Without effort, the greatest freedom comes from realizing that nothing in the outer world has the authority to decide your success. That decision is made within. Once it is made, it cannot be undone by appearances, delays, or contradictions. The win exists before you see it because consciousness precedes form. What you see is only the final act of a story that was already written inside you. Your inner assumption is the final authority over your experience, whether you are aware of it or not. What you consistently accept as true within yourself becomes the rule by which your life operates. The world does not argue with your assumptions, it obeys them. It does not ask whether they are logical, fair, or deserved. It simply mirrors them. This is why circumstances repeat, patterns persist, and outcomes seem predictable, because the inner decision has already been made. An assumption is not a wish or a fleeting thought, it is a settled feeling, an inner agreement about how life works and who you are within it. When something feels natural to you, when it no longer feels surprising or questionable, you have accepted it as true. From that moment on, life begins arranging itself to confirm it. You may not consciously choose many of your assumptions, but they are always active, silently shaping your reality. People often attempt to change results without changing the assumptions that produced them. They try harder, plan better, or wait for luck, while internally holding the same beliefs about limitation, struggle, or delay. The effort is exhausting because it fights against the very authority that governs experience. The outer world cannot permanently contradict what you inwardly accept. At best, it can temporarily distract you, but it must return to alignment. What you accept as true does not need constant affirmation. In fact, the need to repeat something over and over is often a sign that it has not yet become an assumption. True assumptions feel obvious. They carry a sense of calm certainty. When you assume success, you are not trying to convince yourself. You simply know. And knowing is the command that life responds to. This is why inner conversations are so powerful. The way you speak to yourself, the conclusions you silently draw, and the expectations you carry into situations all reveal your assumptions. If you expect rejection, confusion, or delay, life faithfully delivers experiences to match, not as punishment, but as obedience. Reality has no agenda of its own. It follows the script you have accepted. Changing your life then does not begin with changing circumstances, but with revising what you allow to feel true. The moment you withdraw acceptance from an old assumption and replace it with a new one, the authority shifts. At first, the outer world may still reflect the past decision, but this is only momentum, not permanence. Persistence in the new assumption eventually dissolves the old reflection. You do not need to fight doubt, you simply need to stop giving it authority. Doubt only has power when it is accepted as truth. When you recognize that your inner assumption is the law, you no longer fear appearances. You understand that what you see now is not a verdict, but a lagging indicator of a previous belief. The most important question you can ever ask yourself is not what you want, but what you are accepting as true. Because life will never rise above that level. The moment you assume differently, the moment the new truth feels natural within you, the outcome is decided. What you accept as true must appear, because there is nothing in the outer world with greater authority than your inner assumption. Feeling is the doorway through which every experience enters your life. Thoughts may introduce ideas, and words may describe intentions, but it is emotion that gives them substance. What you feel to be true is what becomes real. Feeling is not decoration added to desire, it is the evidence that the desire has already been accepted by consciousness. When emotion is present, the outcome is sealed. A thought without feeling remains abstract. It floats in the mind without roots. But when a thought is accompanied by emotion, especially the quiet, natural feeling of fulfillment, it becomes embodied. Feeling is the moment an idea stops being imagined and starts being lived. This is why fleeting affirmations rarely change anything, while a single moment of deep inner knowing can alter the course of a life. Emotion impresses the subconscious, and the subconscious governs behavior, perception, and reaction. You do not act based on what you say you believe. You act based on what you feel is true. Your choices, habits, and responses flow naturally from your emotional state. When you feel successful, you move through the world differently. You speak differently. You notice different opportunities. And the world responds accordingly. This is why effort alone is powerless without feeling. You can work endlessly toward a goal while inwardly feeling doubtful, unworthy, or anxious, and those feelings quietly cancel the action. Life responds to the dominant emotional tone, not the visible struggle. Emotion is the signal sent out continuously, announcing what you accept as real. Feeling also explains why visualization works only when it feels natural. It is not the image that creates, but the emotion experienced while imagining. When you feel the relief of completion, the joy of achievement, or the calm of certainty, you are stepping into the state of having. That emotional state becomes your identity, and identity is what reality reflects. The most powerful feelings are not intense or dramatic, they are subtle and steady. The calm confidence of knowing, the quiet satisfaction of fulfillment. These emotions indicate that the desire is no longer something you are reaching for, but something you are living from. When this happens, resistance dissolves. There is nothing left to force, because the mind is no longer divided. D. Negative emotion is not an enemy, it is feedback. It shows you what you are still accepting as true. If fear appears, it is not a sign of failure, but a sign that the old assumption is still active. Instead of fighting the feeling, you gently replace it by entering the feeling of the outcome fulfilled. The moment you do, authority shifts. Reality must conform to feeling, because feeling is the language of consciousness. Words may lie, but emotion never does. The world hears what you feel, not what you say. When you consistently feel as though something is already yours, life aligns to make that feeling logical. Emotion seals the outcome because it completes the inner act. Once the feeling of fulfillment is accepted, creation is finished. Everything that follows is simply reality catching up to what you have already lived inwardly. Time is often misunderstood as the force that creates outcomes, when in truth it is only the medium through which outcomes unfold. Time does not decide what will happen, it simply reveals what has already been set in motion within consciousness. When fulfillment feels delayed, it is not because the desire is uncertain, but because time is serving as the bridge between the inner decision and its visible expression. Delay does not deny fulfillment. It confirms that something is unfolding. The moment an outcome is accepted inwardly, the end is fixed. From that point on, time has only one role: to arrange the sequence of events that make the fulfillment appear natural and believable. Life moves with precision, aligning circumstances, people, and opportunities in ways the conscious mind could never plan. What appears as waiting is actually orchestration. Impatience arises when we forget this. We begin to measure progress by external signs, assuming that if nothing has changed yet, nothing is happening. But creation does not begin on the face. It begins invisibly. Just as a journey requires distance to be crossed, fulfillment requires a span of moments through which it can arrive. Time is not resistance, it is process. If time were the creator, then effort and waiting would determine outcomes. But experience shows otherwise. Some things arrive quickly with no struggle, while others unfold slowly despite effort. The difference lies not in time itself, but in the level of inner acceptance. When fulfillment feels natural, time collapses. When doubt remains, the bridge lengthens, not as punishment, but as adjustment. Delay often serves a purpose that the surface mind cannot see. It allows assumptions to stabilize. It allows identity to shift. It allows you to become the person who can naturally receive what you have claimed. If fulfillment appeared instantly without inner alignment, it would feel foreign, unstable, or easily lost. Time ensures harmony between inner state and outer experience. This is why giving up during delay is the only true failure. To abandon the inner knowing is to step off the bridge before reaching the other side. But persistence in assumption guarantees arrival. The bridge cannot collapse if you continue walking. Life has no mechanism to permanently withhold what consciousness has accepted as true. Understanding time correctly brings peace. You stop asking when and start resting in certainty. You no longer interpret delay as rejection, but as movement. Every day becomes part of the unfolding, even when nothing dramatic happens. Ordinary moments carry unseen progress. When you remain faithful to fulfillment during delay, something shifts within you. Anxiety fades. Effort relaxes. You live more fully in the present, no longer treating life as a waiting room. This inner ease often shortens the bridge because resistance dissolves. Time is not your enemy. It is your pathway. It has no power to cancel what is already decided within you. Once the end is assumed, time must lead you there. Delay does not deny fulfillment, it simply marks the distance between the inner act and the outer confirmation. Chasing implies that what you desire is separate from you, distant, or unwilling to come. Allowing begins with the understanding that what you seek is already aligned with you the moment it is accepted inwardly. Effort belongs to a state of not having, while acceptance belongs to a state of being. When you chase, you affirm absence. When you allow, you affirm fulfillment. Most struggle is not caused by desire itself, but by the belief that effort creates results. This belief keeps people in constant motion, always trying to prove worth, earn outcomes, or force circumstances. Yet effort without inner acceptance only reinforces the idea that something is missing. The more you push, the more you confirm to yourself that you are still waiting. Allowing is not passivity, it is a shift of authority. Instead of attempting to control the outer world, you establish inner agreement. Once the inner state is settled, action becomes natural rather than strained. You do what feels right, not what feels desperate. The difference is subtle but powerful. One comes from trust, the other from fear. When you accept something as already yours, your nervous system relaxes, the urgency dissolves. You no longer measure every moment for signs of progress. This relaxation is not laziness, it is alignment. In this state, intuition sharpens. You notice opportunities you previously overlooked. Conversations flow differently. Decisions feel lighter. Life begins to cooperate because you are no longer resisting it with effort. Chasing also creates attachment to specific paths. You decide how something must happen and when it must arrive. Allowing releases this rigidity. You true that the outcome can come through channels you did not plan. Often the easiest route is the one the mind would never choose. When you stop forcing, life reveals simpler ways. Effort has its place, but only after acceptance. Action that flows from inner certainty feels almost effortless, even when it requires energy. It does not drain you because it is not fueled by anxiety. It feels like movement, not struggle. This is how aligned action differs from chasing. One feels heavy, the other feels inevitable. Allowing also means letting go of constant correction. You stop monitoring your thoughts in fear, stop fighting every doubt, and stop trying to maintain perfection. Instead, you return gently to the feeling of having. This softness is not weakness, it is stability. The outcome does not require your vigilance, it requires your permission. The paradox is that when you stop chasing, things often arrive faster. This is not coincidence. Chasing creates resistance by emphasizing lack. Allowing removes that resistance by confirming wholeness. Life responds to ease because ease signals readiness. You do not need to convince life to give you anything. Life responds automatically to your state of being. When acceptance replaces effort, you step out of the race and into alignment. You are no longer running toward fulfillment. You are standing in it, letting it come to you. To live from the end is to shift your identity from one who seeks to one who already possesses. Most people move through life oriented toward outcomes, always approaching fulfillment as something ahead of them. This orientation keeps desire alive, but fulfillment distant. Living from the end reverses this movement. Instead of walking toward a future result, you stand in the state of completion and allow life to align around you. Becoming the person who already has it does not mean pretending or denying peace, resent circumstances. It means choosing an inner position that is independent of appearances. Identity is the source of experience. What you consistently identify as being true about yourself becomes the lens through which you perceive, decide, and act. When your identity changes, your world follows. The person who already has what they desire thinks differently, not through forced positivity, but through natural expectation. They do not constantly wonder if it will happen, because for them it already has. Their thoughts are calm, grounded, and unhurried. Their decisions are guided by confidence rather than urgency. This shift in inner posture is subtle, yet it changes everything. Living from the end also alters how you relate to challenges. Obstacles no longer feel threatening, they feel temporary and impersonal. You do not interpret setbacks as signs of failure, but as part of the unfolding. This emotional stability comes from knowing the end is secure. When the destination is certain, the road loses its power to disturb you. This state is not maintained through constant effort. It is sustained through familiarity. You return again and again to the feeling of already being fulfilled until it becomes normal. Normality is what manifests. What feels natural must express itself. When success feels like home rather than a destination, life reorganizes to match that feeling. Becoming the person who already has it also changes your relationship with time. You stop waiting for life to begin. You stop postponing joy, peace, or confidence until conditions improve. You allow yourself to experience these qualities now, knowing they are expressions of the end state. This present enjoyment is not premature, it is preparatory. It signals readiness. You will still take action, but it will be different. Actions taken from the end feel intuitive and well timed. You are not acting to get something, you are acting because it feels appropriate to who you are now. There is less second guessing and more flow. Even effort feels lighter because it is not loaded with expectation. Living from the end requires trust in inner causation. You trust that being precedes having, and that inner alignment leads outer expression. This trust frees you from constant analysis. You no longer ask, "Am I doing enough?" because the question itself belongs to a former identity. When you become the person who already has it, you stop managing reality and start allowing it to confirm you. The world responds to who you are being, not what you are chasing. Live from the end, and the end will live itself through you. Everything you have heard comes down to one simple truth. Creation is finished inwardly before it ever appears outwardly. Victory exists in consciousness before it becomes visible. Your inner assumption holds authority. Your feeling seals the outcome. Time merely delivers what has already been decided. Effort dissolves into acceptance, and living from the end transforms who you are being. When these principles are understood and lived, struggle loses its purpose. You stop chasing life and begin allowing it to reflect your inner state. The moment you choose fulfillment within, the work is done. From there, life has only one role: to align itself with the version of you who already knows, already trusts, and already has. Remain faithful to that inner position. Let certainty replace effort, calm replace urgency, and knowing replace doubt. What feels natural within you must appear around you. The win is done, and reality is simply catching up. Thank you.